and a wonderful opportunity to learn together and to offer you some tools that hopefully will be useful for you. I'm just going to do a very quick recap. I'm going to be, can you guys make sure that I'm the host or the co-host of the meeting so that I can send people to breakout rooms when we need to do that? I'm going to share my screen again so we can do a quick recap. Okay, oops, and now I have to, oops, okay, let's reset this. All right. So just a quick recap, very, very, very briefly, right? And we are the foundation of resilience. When we're talking about resilience, just talking about the nervous system and really understanding ourselves as human beings. Really just understanding how we're all affected and understanding that all of us have these two systems, an action system and a rest and recharge system. And we very much talked about the ways, just to summarize very briefly, the ways that this action system works, that when we feel threatened, everything accelerates in our brain, which usually can function very well. There's kind of a communication breakdown in our brain between our planning and thinking and decision making and our emotions, where the emotions can kind of take over. And then, of course, our view, our perspective becomes quite narrow. The more stressed we are, the narrower our perspective can become. When we're very stressed, we are aware that our perspective has been narrowed. But when we're moderately stressed, or when we've been stressed a lot over a long period of time, we lose that awareness. We have a narrow view, but we're not aware of it. And so this is very important. And this happens to all of us just because we're human. On the other side of things, with the rest and recharge system, and this is just a fundamental tool that all of us can use, is that idea that we can activate the rest and recharge simply by breathing. And that was the first skill we worked on, the idea of calming breath. Just activating our ability to calm down anywhere, anytime through being able to breathe. We also talked about this idea of negativity bias, this normal negativity bias, and how the human brain is kind of sticky for negative experiences. It's sticky for negative experiences. And so the summary was that when people are in a state of prolonged crisis stress, the stress adds up and up and up. The body is staying in a state of chronic stress without ever having a chance to return to a resting state, to relax, that this is amplified by uncertainty, uncontrollability, and unpredictability, and further magnified by this negativity bias, so that it becomes just intensely stressful for people. And we also talked about, you had a chance to share and talk about all the different physical, mental, emotional, and social effects of that, which I'm not going to review, but I think all of you are very familiar with. So resilience comes in because in this perspective, resilience is a set of skills. Resilience is a set of skills that can be learned and practiced by anyone, anytime. And of course, some people have a different temperament, a different personality, as we talked about. And, I mentioned that I'm a person who's very reactive to stress. So learning these skills has been very important for me personally and professionally. So that it really, wherever we start, we have the opportunity to increase our resilience. And it's just going to help us manage our physical, emotional, and mental reactions. It's going to help us rest and recharge. And hopefully, it's going to help us be more mentally and emotionally stable, and maybe even be able to maintain a positive mental outlook. And I don't mean a positive mental outlook 100% of the time, but I mean in general, because everyone living in a situation like what Myanmar is going through, living in a situation of prolonged civil war and uncertainty, everyone's going to have difficult moments. right? Everyone. It's not a failing. It's not a sign of weakness. It's just a sign that it's hard. And when those difficult hours or difficult days come, then we use our resilience skills to help us cope with them. So the model that we used was this idea of because of the effects, this narrowing, the foundation of resilience is grounding in the present moment. Grounding in the present moment to help us activate our rest and recharge system. And then on top of that, skills from these 5 areas: emotional, social, mental, physical, and spiritual resilience. And of course, then I was one point that I was a little bit unsatisfied with the first webinar was I feel I didn't acknowledge enough the resilience you already have, right? We talked about it a little bit. But I was thinking, and then talking later with 𝐖𝐞𝐻𝐻, that I wish we'd spent more time to acknowledge the resilient skills. And you could already start to categorize your resilience and the skills you already do under these 5 domains: emotional, social, mental, physical, and spiritual. And we try to ground in order to start practicing resilience from a really more focused and present mental and emotional state. So the grounding just brings the mind back to the body in the present moment and clears very temporarily, because the mind is always moving, temporarily clears the mind. It helps us to focus. And I taught you 5 or 6 different techniques to practice grounding. Remembering that there's no best technique, everyone's different. And we'll talk a little bit, hopefully before the end of today, about how to use this with clients, but hopefully I hope you all have been practicing. So we talked about using the breath, and either a calming breath or this so-called box breathing of 4-4, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. But you could change that. That could be 3-3-3-3, 5-5-5-5. There's so many different versions. We talked about feeling connected, feeling rooted in the earth. We talked about grounding by moving and stretching. We also talked about the idea of touching something cold and savoring a scent as a set of core techniques to practice grounding. And then we practiced, we started with 3 resilience skills, was all we had time for on March the 9th. Mental stamina, frame 1, the resilience break with BNE and progressive muscle relaxation. Just reviewing very quickly, mental stamina, frame 1 was the keep calm and carry on, right? The idea that we can't control all the risks. We shouldn't try to control all the risks. We just try to do our best to keep living each day. That's keep calm and carry on. So we try and manage our resilience. The resilience break with BNE was when we notice that we're getting upset, that we're getting stressed, we take a moment to breathe, name what we're feeling, and give ourselves some of that soothing touch by embracing ourselves, whatever form of embracing feels right for us. And then lastly, we had the chance to practice progressive muscle relaxation. Again, as I told you, the research, this is one of the most effective tools in the therapeutic repertoire for all forms of anxiety and stress, ranging from, for all forms of anxiety and stress, that we alternately tense and relax, and we practiced it a little bit, and I shared some resource with you so that I hope that everyone has practiced at least one time, if not more than once, both to deal with panic attacks, anxiety attacks, or insomnia. An extremely useful tool that helps reset us physically and mentally. And the more we practice, the better we get at this skill. So so I'd like to do a reflection and an exercise. How have you been using these skills since March the 9th? What did you experience when you used it for yourself? And what happened when you used it for other people? So we're going to go into breakout rooms. When we're in breakout rooms, please remember, please turn on your camera so that other people can see you if that's possible for you. Are there any questions about what I am asking you to do? Are there any questions? So right now we're 14 or about a dozen people. So let's create 4 rooms. Let's create 4 rooms. Yeah. And so the question is, how have you been using this, right? 3 questions. How have you been, what have you been experiencing when you use it with yourself? And what, if you used it with any clients or other people, what did you experience in using it with other people? Okay. Is that pretty clear? And let's see, how about, I think 10 minutes to talk about that? Maybe a little bit more? What do you think, 𝐿𝐸𝐻𝐻? Does 10 minutes feel like enough?
The 10 minutes each is enough.
Okay.
So 20 minutes in total. Is that okay? It's too much?
No, we can. Sorry. So there'll be about 3 people per group, and other people may come in.
Okay.
So how about 15 minutes?
5 minutes each. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 minutes each, focusing on these skills. Okay, great. All right. And yeah, make sure everyone has a chance to share. Make sure everybody in your group has a chance to share. Okay. All right, good. Please enjoy your discussion. And as I will monitor who is coming in, and as other people come in, I will send them into the groups. So someone may join your group a little bit late. Okay. All right. Great. Enjoy your discussion.
Thank you. Where should I join, Ben?
How about room 4? Would that
Room
be
4.
okay?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. So I will join in.
Okay. And I think, yeah. How is your discussion?
It was great. Short and quick. We did.
Okay. Great. And hopefully we'll have more time for discussion.
I'm just wondering, curious about other rooms.
Yeah, please go ahead and ask, 𝐿𝐸𝐻𝐻. Please go ahead and ask and check.
ကဲကိုရီအခန်းမှာတော့အရန်နေဆွေးနွေးပြီးတော့ချက်ချင်းပဲပြီးသွားကြတယ်။ကျန်တဲ့အခန်းတွေမှာတော့ဘယ်လို experience လဲ။နည်းနည်း curious ဖြစ်။ဘယ်အခန်းကအရင် share ပေးမလဲ။ share ပေးလို့ရပါ
Yeah, if you want to share anything in English or in Burmese, please feel free to unmute, or please feel free to write in the chat. Whatever works best for you is welcome.
။အဲ့တော့ room 1ကအရင်စမလား။ room 1ကအရင်စပြောပေးပါလား။ experience လေ။
room 1ကဘာတူလဲဆိုကျွန်တော်တို့လည်းကျွန်တော်ဖေ room လည်းမမှတ်မိတော့
Who's the room 1?
Where's the room?
We are room 4. Ben, do you remember who's the room 1?
A little bit. Let me see. Actually, I can tell you if I look at the room 1 was 𝐻𝐻 𝐿𝐸𝐻 𝐻𝐸𝐻𝐻 and 𝐶𝐻𝐿𝐸𝐻.
So we will start in our room. We noticed by doing these practice for ourselves, we become more aware of our body reaction, thoughts, our emotions, and we become to accept our emotions and feelings during these stressful conditions. So yeah, the interesting thing the interesting thing for me is like one person mentioned that by doing those mindfulness practice and being present, being in the present and saying like I'm safe here, but we also have to be careful not to lead into the toxic positivity like maybe like avoidance behavior to the stressful condition. So yeah, we discuss those things. For our clients and Nicola mentioned that he did the BNE with agoraphobia client, so it worked for the client. For me, the client with trauma history became to accept her feelings, her emotions and feelings more. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and Luan U for sharing that. That's such great examples, and a appropriate caution, right? But we, the way we judge about, and you're quite right. I just want to say that there is this issue about unrealistic positivity. But I think we judge by the behavioral side. Is the person, because we use these skills not to control feelings, but to help us engage. So if someone can do PMR and then they can engage with important tasks, everything's okay. We don't have to decide, is it positive positivity or is it negative positivity? Right? Is it realistic? If they're engaging with their responsibilities, with their family, with their friends. So the agoraphobia is a great example, and some of these skills are great for agoraphobia. Is the agoraphobic person practicing BNE and then they stay at home, or do they practice BNE and then they can go out a little bit or go out a lot, right? Or it helps them stay out. So then we don't have to judge whether the thought is a useful thought or not, right? If people can engage. And especially for trauma, these skills, especially PMR, are very useful, but the trauma clients usually need to practice a little bit more, because the nervous system has really been changed by trauma, especially after a long period. Good examples. Thank you very, very much. How about group 2? Room 2 was Masu, Mwenje-san, and Suri and Meipyotu. Do we have a representative?
We didn't choose, but I will share for all of us. We all use the techniques BME and PMR, and also grounding techniques. And I specifically use the BNE technique on myself, and I love it. And also Suri, she said she loves BNE also, and she practiced PMR on her partner as well as the client. And her partner fall asleep, even though the process is not finished yet. Yeah. And also Maypyo too said that she also did that, and at the mid level she fell asleep. She couldn't even finish till the end for the PMR. But for me, I use BNE on me and my client as well, and they really they like it. And an interesting thing was shared by Suri. She said that she used grounding and BNE. She first used grounding. She stand on the ground firmly, and then after that she practiced BNE, and it's more effective, she said. So we all got to learn that from her. So I'm gonna use that technique as well today. So that's all we talk about. And Mo also, she used grounding techniques also. She shared with us. So yeah, we use on clients as well as on us, and it was very useful.
Great, thank you, Masu. And that's actually a really important point that maybe we didn't emphasize enough. When we put the grounding at the foundation of the resilience, So if we're going to practice any resilience skill, the mental frame, the BNE or PMR or any of the skills I will teach you today, worry tree, be your own ally, we actually do grounding first. Before we begin the resilience skill, we do grounding. Again, maybe let's say grounding through stretching, grounding by moving our body a little bit and by bringing the mind present for 30 seconds or 1 minute, and then we do the skill. If we are
Yes.
still in a state of stress and our mind is running when we try to do the resilience skill, we will not get the same benefit.
Yeah. Yes, sorry, I missed that. 𝐬𝐤 also shared that she used the grounding with movement and stretching for her clients, and it was useful, she said. Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Really appreciate the summary, and I really appreciate the way everybody's using that. That's wonderful to hear. So room 3 was Sule and May and Momo.
Yeah, I will share on behalf of my team.
Thank you.
Yes. So we practice like square breathing and progressive muscle relaxation, and we have all our common practice, but we're not aware of it sometimes. To me and to Maple, we practice box breathing and square breathing for ourselves. But then before we got to learn from you, it was a little bit difficult to breathe in and holding part. But after learning from the techniques that you share from the YouTube link, it was very easier for us and get comfortable after this. And we share with our clients and training participants as well. Mamo also like practiced to her client, but she was a bit anxious that she didn't, she was worried that she didn't practice many techniques that you shared during the weeks, but she just suddenly remembered after sharing in the group that she practiced breathing and progressive muscle relaxation to herself and her clients, and that was very beneficial. And what's common about Momo and me is that we don't do the progressive muscle relaxation for the whole body, but just as a part of it, and it was beneficial as well. And yeah, and we got to learn from sharing with each other. We got to learn that, oh, this one we can practice to ourselves and our clients as well. So yeah, in the chatting room, we share what we did to ourselves and our clients. Also, what we can use in the future as well. To me, like not only directly practice to the clients, but also share with my training participants, and it was useful. Yeah, because there are approximately 20 people in one classroom, and we share the practice about the breathing, relaxations, and also I share with your techniques, the negative focus and the white lens, which is used in the hand model. It was very useful and special learning for them. Yeah, it really was a good. We also get the positive feedbacks from the training as well. They practice it. Yeah, so not only to the clients, I share with the training participants as well. So yeah, they also practice it and have a good feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you. What a great summary, and it's great to share these skills with groups. When we're staff meeting, training participants, any opportunity we have to give people these skills, I think is fantastic. Thanks for the examples. Also, I think a room number 2 also mentioned about PMR, and I just want to say, I forgot to say this. If you do PMR and you fall asleep, that means you're doing it correctly, right? The purpose of the PMR is to deactivate the action system and to activate and strengthen the rest system, right? So when we do PMR and if we fall asleep, that means it's good PMR. That means is it and people have different, but we can also remember we talked about that idea that you can develop a PMR that's 3 minutes long or 5 minutes long using just some muscle groups. And this is very good sometimes for people with panic attacks or agoraphobia. Or for people with insomnia, especially trauma people, nightmares, interrupted sleep, insomnia, cannot have, mind is racing, so don't have sleep onset, can't fall asleep. Longer PMR routines, usually for insomnia, But the focus is not to complete the routine. The focus is simply to relax. And if you fall asleep, it's fine. Or if you wake up in the middle of the night, you start your PMR, and then you see what happens. Okay, good. How about room 4? Room 4 was 𝐖𝐞𝐻𝐿𝐽 and 𝐓𝐢𝐿𝐽 and Counseling Corner.
Right, I changed my name.
It's okay. You are Counseling Corner. Who's the representative for that group?
ကိုနဲ့တီဘယ်သူလုပ်မလဲကိုကနားထောင်မယ်
ကိုပဲလုပ်လိုက်ပါဘူးဒီအားမရှိပါဘူးကိုပဲလုပ်လိုက်ပါကိုပဲလုပ်လိုက်ပါတိတက်ကောက်
Right, everyone is tired and power cut and a lot of training, so yeah. So I'm gonna represent of my group. So we all are using for ourselves and clients for the breathings and all technique PNEs and all of the techniques, mindful breathings and everything. Yeah, so we for me it's like I use it naturally now and more in session with the client for myself and also workshop webinars and everything. It's naturally happen to use it. No, sometimes in past I use it, but not like before. Now is more understanding, more mindful in we are in the crisis, prolonged crisis. So it's remind me of to use this one a lot. And then I focus for clients and participants in every second step. So yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thanks, 𝐸𝐿𝐽. And thanks. Good. Thank you. I appreciate the other people saying you're tired. That's okay. It's okay to say I need a rest. That's really valuable. We all need a rest. Yeah, I'm going to just share again, just in case anyone needs it again. In a moment, you'll have in the chat the PowerPoint slides from today, which is similar. You'll have the list of links, that same list of links that you can practice on playlists on YouTube, and the same checklist I gave you last time. So just in case anyone needs those again, they're in the chat. Because I want to continue and run through some more skills, but I also I think it's just wonderful that everybody's using PMR. And if anyone creates a Burmese language version of PMR, if someone makes a recording, please share in the Telegram group so we can have those kind of recordings available. Because especially I always encourage my clients, when I learn a new practice, I will use the recording for many weeks. I've been practicing PMR now for 20 years, more than 20 years. So I don't use a recording anymore. But I would say for the first 2 or 3 years, I use the recording every time. So, and when I would teach it to people in the beginning, I always used a script. For 4 or 5 years, I always used a script, because we have those things in English. And I think I shared a little bit of that with you before. But if anyone has a chance, because when we ask our clients to do this, I recommend if you're going to do the PMR with clients, ask the client to record you on their smartphone. Ask the client to record you when you guide them, not the whole session, but just ask the client to record you on their smartphone. So then if the client likes it, when they go by themselves, they can just play that recording for themselves, so they can use it anytime. And this is a very useful practice. But then if someone does that, you can also transcribe that, and you can create a script that you can share with other people. And if anyone has a recording in Burmese, please share in the Telegram group if you like, because I think that could be a really great resource to share with a lot of different people. so that people can practice this. And the same is true with BNE. If you guide the client in BNE, I suggest you allow the client to just record that for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Let the client record it. And then the client will have that with them all the time. Oh, is there? 𝐖𝐞𝐲𝐻𝐿 has just shared a link in the YouTube in the chat box. What is that a link to?
Yeah, it's the Burmese version of PMR.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. And that someone put that up 3 years ago. Okay. And is that a version that involves tensing and relaxing? Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes great. Thank you so much, 𝐖𝐞𝐲𝐻𝐿. That's great. That is great. Is that yours or is that someone else's?
Someone else's, not mine.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. What a great starting point. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, because that's, and it's good to have many different versions. It's good to have male voice and female voice. I have a playlist on YouTube that we use with refugees here in Bangkok, with asylum seekers and refugees, where we have Arabic, Urdu, Pashto, we have Somali, we have many different languages so that people can practice in their own language. It's very important. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, good. Wow, that's great. So are there any questions? Does anyone have any questions about any of that you'd like to ask? Okay, and of course, you're always welcome to share questions in the chat box if you like. I'm going to press onwards now. I'm going to share my screen. Just looking for PowerPoint. Okay, so here's what we hope to go through today. We'll continue with mental frame number 2. Then we'll work a little bit on mental resilience with 3 skills called the worry tree, healthy distractions, something I think you'll all be familiar with, and be your own ally, a really important skill to reduce self-criticism and self-blame. Then we'll spend some time to talk about physical resilience and social resilience. They're a little bit difficult to practice in a webinar, but we can talk about how to work on that. And then we'll talk about spiritual resilience, and I'll give you a skill using spiritual resilience called the protective circle of ancestors to help us rest and recharge when we don't feel safe. And then hopefully, if we have some additional time, we'll talk about how to use these things with clients, some techniques for bringing them in. Although I'm thrilled and excited that you're already doing it and already successful. I feel like maybe you don't need my suggestions about how to use it with clients. You're already doing it. So that's wonderful. So remembering that, we're working on soothing and relaxing the body, right? Because it's from this kind of, I don't want to say completely relaxed, but from a more relaxed state is when we can think clearly and plan well and make decisions. We use our strengths. So BNE helps us through emotional resilience. Progressive muscle relaxation works through emotional resilience and physical resilience. We're releasing tension from the body when we do PMR. And as you'll see, that what we're going to learn later, protective circle of ancestors uses emotional resilience, physical resilience, and this sense of spiritual resilience. So there's overlap. One skill may use more than one dimension of resilience. And that's great because they're not really separate. You'll see that social and physical resilience can be very linked when we do something physical as part of a group. So we can bring these together and work with them together. And so we don't have to think of them separately. A human being is one whole organism, one whole being. we make a separation. We say, okay, spiritual, emotional, social, mental, physical, but they overlap. They're really connected. This is just a technique for talking about it. So we can, please don't think about them as two separate. So, all right. So continuing, remember that mental stamina, the first mental stamina frame was keep calm and carry on. Just acknowledging we can't control everything that's happening and we just keep living our lives. So the mental stamina frame 2 is we take small steps, do what we can do today. And again, resilient people, many you yourselves and many people are already doing this. And this can be, when we're very upset, this can be difficult. So if if there's a big announcement and someone says, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then everyone wants to know what's going to happen, and when's it going to happen, and is it going to affect me? Is it going to affect my family, my children, my brother, my parents, my sister? So we're getting into stress because we're human. We can be most effective when we focus on what we can do today. When we focus on what we can do today. This is really important for us. It's really, really important for us. And as I said, I think many of you are already doing some version of this. You're already doing some version of this. So we can always, and so when our mind is thinking, what about next week? What about next month? What about next year? And or you will hear that from our clients that they have jumped forward by 1 week or by months and months. It's a sign that we need to help them soothe. We need to help them soothe and activate the calming system so that they can think more clearly. Because in a situation where there's so much unpredictability, it's difficult to plan ahead. So the way to do this, in English we have a saying, and I'm sure that there's almost certainly got to be a version in Burmese, one day at a time, one step at a time. So the key is to invite ourselves when we're getting stressed or upset, or if our mind is racing into the future, to focus on the steps and actions that we can take today. What small steps can I take today? What do I need to do today? And this is very valuable because it really helps us go forward. So we started from keep calm and carry on to keep calm and take one step at a time. So if you use the example that Hentet already mentioned of someone with agoraphobia, if you imagine someone with agoraphobia, they're always thinking, well, if I go out, this will happen. If I go to the supermarket, I will have a panic attack. Or if I go out and go in public, something bad is going to happen. I'd want to avoid that. Versus focusing on what is the next step. Okay, so the next step is I get ready to go. Right, so maybe I do some grounding and I get ready to go. And then I stop again and I go, okay, what's the next step? Okay, the next step is I walk out the door and I walk down the block. So it's this idea, I call this the wisdom of small steps. We just take the next little step one at a time. Usually we don't break it down so much, but it can be really useful when people are very anxious or feeling unsafe to just break it down into little steps. I have some clients who, so for example, another clinical example, when I have some clients that as I'm sure you do, with a very severe depression. So they don't even have the energy to do the laundry. So we make a list. I let the client choose an activity. You choose one activity. It could be something like do the laundry, or it could be something like go out with a friend, something small. And then I ask the client, okay, let's break this activity into steps, into tiny little steps. Like, I know this will sound silly, and when we're doing well, we don't need this. But when we're very stressed or very traumatized, we might need this. We ask the client, okay, if you're going to do the laundry, what are all the steps? So the first step might be check and see that I have laundry detergent in the house. The second step is gather up all the clothes and put them together in one spot. And the third step is take it to the washing machine or take it to the sink where I'm going to wash it, right? The next step is to fill the sink or start the washing machine, right? So you can see that we're breaking something down into very small steps. And this can be really useful when people are a bit overwhelmed. So we can approach each day. Some people find it very useful when they're very stressed or very upset. It's very useful to make a list in the morning. What are the little things I'm going to do today? What are the steps? And it doesn't have to be a long list. And in fact, for some clients, we have to make sure it's not too long. Some clients will try to list everything they need to do in 1 week just for one day. So it's just focusing on what are the things I need to do today. And to also do this kind of thing of remembering that we're human. We may not do everything. That's okay. We can repeat tomorrow. And when we're doing this, we want to make sure that we're focusing our attention on the things we can control. So let's do a quick exercise with this. I want everybody to take out a piece of paper. I want everybody to take out a piece of paper or something you can use the notes and make 2 columns like this. Make 2 columns like this, the things I cannot control and the things I can control. Ask everybody to make 2 columns. 1 column says the things I can control and the things I cannot control. And now if you think about the week, think about some of the things that you're doing, some of the things that you're working on. What are the things that you cannot control? So please write down, what are the things that are affecting your life that you cannot control? Say just for this week, right? Or the things you need to do this week. And also in the second column, the things that you can control. What are the things that you are able to influence or control? And let me ask everyone to write in the chat. Choose one item, looking at the list of the things you feel you can't control. one item from the list of things you can control, please share in the chat box. Just one. Doesn't have to be your whole list. There's one item, you know, of the different things going on, relevant to your life, or your what are the things that you cannot control. Thanks, 𝐒𝐫𝐿𝐽𝐤. My parents' personalities. Electricity, right? Current political crisis, inflation. Okay, great example. Yeah, a lot of people thinking about electricity. Weather. Oh my gosh, yeah. Is it hot now in Yangon the way it's hot in Bangkok? It is. Okay. Right. Yeah. And now, one thing from your list of the things you can't the things you can control. I really love that. My parents' personalities. That's I hope everybody understands and agrees. You cannot. Okay. So what is one thing from your list that you can control? And 𝐒𝐤𝐿𝐽𝐤 says, how I treat them. What else? What is one thing in your life? My actions, my words, my emotion, and how to respond to the situation. Setting boundaries and negotiate the way I respond, right? We control my side. Adaptability, how to manage emotions. Yeah, can't control the electricity, but you can control kind of preparing. What's my plan when there's no electricity? How will I cope with that? So this, thanks everyone. And of course, remembering, especially for people who are talking about my action and my feelings and my action and my speech, the things I say or don't say, the things I do or don't do, how I take care of my emotions, please remember that when grounding is really a foundation for that. Because very frequently, as human beings, we might do something we didn't want to do, or we might say something we didn't want to say, or we might feel that's usually because our emotions, because we were not fully present. We were not grounded in the present moment. And that's one of the things that helps us to open our view, right? And to focus on who we want to be, even when so much in life we can't control, how we will live this moment. So this can be a useful exercise to do with clients to see, you know, if the client has a realistic perception about what they can control, what they can influence. It's very basic. I mean, for us as therapists, we have all this training about this, so I think it's relatively easy for us. But sometimes, for this is a point we have to help clients understand, so that they have this kind of mental resilience of looking at and focusing their energy. We want to focus our energy on the things that we have some control over. That is the best, because when we focus things, and this is really common, when if we focus our energy on things that we don't have control over, like feeling upset about the electricity or the weather, or focusing on trying to control my parents, to use some examples from your list, when we focus our energy on things that we really can't control, that will only increase our stress. It will only increase our unhappiness. This is inevitable. Whereas but again, in my experience, a lot of people, that can be useful for some people. Many people are already doing this. So let me share my screen again. I would like to talk with you about the worry tree. So we really want to make sure that, you know, we're you know, everyone is doing something that will conserve your energy and protect your well-being. We don't want to get lost in distress and pointless action. That's really, really not good for us. It's not good for you. So, and one of the ways in which people sometimes use energy poorly is worrying about things. So I want to talk about this because a lot of people spend a lot of time in worry, ruminative worry, where the mind is just going through these same worries over and over again. So I want to give you some this is a research validated tool for coping with worry that I want to talk about before we go to the break. And as we talk about this, you can use something that you're worried about. Because and a lot of people, including many of our clients, get lost in worrying. And then the worrying's kind of out of control and they don't have good mental tools. So this is a key element of mental resilience, is being able to manage our worries when so much of life is kind of, as we've been talking about, uncontrollable, uncertain, unpredictable. So we call this the worry tree because of this shape. It kind of looks like a little, has the outline a little bit like a pine tree. So this is a step-by-step process, and I'm going to start with the left side. So you ask. So when you have to be able to notice when you're worrying. You have to be able to notice when you're worrying. And then you start by asking yourself, what am I worrying about? So if you like, as I teach this, please feel free to choose one of your worries and write it down. Ask yourself, what am I worrying about today? So first, you identify a specific worry. This is quite important because if a person can't do this in general, we have to identify a specific worry. So what am I worrying about? Identify the worry, write it down. And then you ask yourself, can I do something about this? Is there some action that I can take to address this worry? Now, if the answer is yes, so you can ask yourself that, is there some action you can take to address this worry? If the answer is yes, then you ask yourself, can I do that now or later? Can I do that now or later? Now, if the answer is now, there is some action I can take right now, maybe some very small step that I can take right now, then I should decide what is that action and I should do it. No matter how small. If there's some action that I can take later, I can't do it right now. I should take it later. I should decide when to act and schedule it. Once I have taken the action, or once I have scheduled the action, I have to regulate my mind or distract my mind so that my mind will not continue to worry. Because some of you may have noticed, sometimes even when we have taken an action, our mind continues to worry. So let me give you an example. Let's use the example of COVID. Let's imagine there was a time when we were all worried about getting COVID. So let's imagine I'm sitting at home and I'm worrying, I don't want to get COVID again. So I ask myself, is there something I can do about it? And if I'm sitting at home by myself, maybe there's no action I can take right now. But I say, well, when I go out, I'll wear a mask. So okay, when I go out, I'll wear a mask. So that's under later. So once I've decided on that action and I've scheduled it, When I go out, I will wear a mask. Now I have to distract my mind so that my mind doesn't keep worrying. And the more uncertain something is, I don't know if I'll get COVID or not, or the more unpredictable it is, I don't know what will happen if I get COVID. My mind may have a tendency to worry about it. So this issue of self-regulating and distracting is very important. And then, of course, on the other side, the answer might be, no, there's nothing I can do about it. Like, I may be worrying that there will be a power cut later, that I'll lose my electricity later. Is there anything I can do about that? No, probably not. Or there, again, it might be different for different people. So, but if there's nothing I can do about it, then I just have to self-regulate my mind. I have to train my mind to worry less. And one of the ways, so this is, you notice that in this worry tree, all of the pathways lead to regulating the mind or distraction. And this is really, really important because the mind can develop the habit of worrying too much. There's a quote from the Dhammapada. The quote is, "What the mind dwells on frequently becomes the inclination of the mind." Right. So although what neuroscientists say is what fires together wires together, meaning that the neurons we use frequently tend to form circuits in our brain. And what that means is that our mind, we can develop mental habits. So our mind might develop a habit of worrying, and then it will happen easier and easier and more. Just like a behavioral habit like smoking or drinking or biting my nails, the mind can develop these habits as well. So we have to also develop our ability to notice what our mind is doing, make some decisions on a basis like this, and then self-regulate or distract. And I want to talk about this a little bit. So here's a quote from the Dalai Lama. And the quote from the Dalai Lama is, "If there's something to be done, do it without any need to worry. If there's nothing to be done, worrying about it further will not help." This is in fact one of the things that the Dalai Lama said when people were so worried about COVID and obsessing and ruminating about COVID all the time. So you see, the idea is that, and so we learn to self-regulate and distract so that we can help our mind not to worry. So how do we do that? Because you can't control worrying by saying to yourself, "Don't worry." Saying to yourself, "Don't worry," is not helpful. It won't stop your mind from worrying. The way we stop worrying, the best way to control is what I would call healthy distraction. And these are examples of healthy distractions. So basically, what you do when you're trying to self-regulate worry is you change the channel in your mind. And you do that mindfully. You say, okay, my mind is worrying right now. There's no action I can take right now, or I have already taken the action. So now I need to distract my mind from this worry. And Chris Germer, a psychologist, suggests that we use distraction in 5 dimensions: physical, mental, emotional, relational, or spiritual. So again, there's so many so on the physical dimension, remember, these are just examples. We could distract ourselves by exercising, by sleeping, by getting a massage or having a bath. Mental distraction could be to meditate. We might watch funny videos or read a book or draw or do puzzles. Emotional distraction means we might journal, write in a journal. We might do a gratitude practice or deep breathing or visualize a peaceful image. Relational distraction means we may talk to a friend or send a chat message to a friend or play a game or do something nice, or we might do some spiritual distraction such as praying or taking a walk in the park or help someone else, practice yoga. So there's many different ways. But, you know, some people think that distraction is a bad thing, but it's not. There's healthy distraction. It means direct our mind to another focus so we don't keep ruminating and worrying. And when there's nothing else we can do at the moment, it's healthy coping. Ruminating, worrying, searching for information, spreading rumors drains your energy and drains the energy of other people. So this is what I'm describing as a form of mental discipline. So, and of course, we want to have a neutral or positive distraction. Obsessing and doom scrolling is bad for you. It's a waste of energy, and it will contribute to psychological exhaustion or maybe even burnout. So and again, it's happening all over the world. So it's really important not to be scrolling pointlessly, especially when so many people are sending out information that is just alarming, and it might not be true, or even if it's true, it might not be relevant for me today. So let me invite all of you. Now I want all of you to list, and I know you already have some. Please list at least 5 or up to 10 different ways you distract yourself to stop your mind from worrying and to pass time safely. What are the things that you do to help you rest and conserve energy and to regulate your mind so that your mind is not lost in worry and obsession? I like, again, so let me invite everybody to do that now. Please write down, what are all the techniques you use in your own life to give yourself some healthy distraction? It doesn't have to be something you do every day. It doesn't have to be something you do every week, but anything you do. Nope. Okay. Please, Suri, make sure that you have a copy for yourself as well. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Suri, but please make sure you have a copy for yourself as well, because we're going to do something with this list. And if anyone who's finished wants to share, please, by all means, it's lovely if people would like to share what's on your list. Marlo, I'm going to assume you mean drinking water. Okay, so Suri wrote yoga, relaxing shower, exercise, spend time with pets, doodling. And it's really good if we have some things that we can do in 5 minutes, and we have some other things that we do that take more time. Right? So like relaxing shower, we can do in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Yoga, we might need 30 minutes. Also, it's good if we have some things we do alone. If it's good, we have some things we can do with friends, right? So we have different techniques. I hope that everybody has a list. And of course, okay, so Masu journal, read the Bible and pray, go see a friend, yoga, watch a comedy movie, hot shower. I like to watch funny clips on YouTube. And also my wife likes to watch about these clips on YouTube about people who rescue animals. There's a channel called The Dodo. Some of you might be familiar with this channel, and they have many inspiring stories that always make you feel good. And it's a great way. Momo writes, massage, watch movie, exercise, relaxing shower, visualize happy and safe place. Wonderful. I think it's really important for all of us. Great. Sorry, it's really useful. And so I want to encourage you. So when you have this list, because remember, sometimes we get into this narrow state. Sometimes we get into a narrow state, again, because we're human, right? And we don't see clearly. So it can be really useful if we take a picture of this list. Take a picture of the list. So that way the list is always with you. And when you get a little bit stressed or upset, you can look at the list. And you can always change it. You can always change it. You can always update it, right? So you can always remind yourself. You can always remind yourself, okay, these are the things. Crocheting, watching sea creatures with soothing background music. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I like to listen. I put on YouTube in the background with rain sounds. Yeah, so we all have different things that we do. Sometimes I'll also ask clients, especially if the clients like a project, I will ask the client to make this list on a piece of paper. Ask the client to make the list on a piece of paper, and I'll try to make sure that the client has a lot of things on the list. Usually with a client, I go for at least as many as possible. Some clients, you start with a small list and you build it over time. Some clients already have lots of these kinds of distraction, or you can call them coping skills. It doesn't matter, but we're focusing on worry, ways to change the channel when our mind is obsessing and worrying. So I'll ask the client to make it like an art project for clients who are interested. Like, you make it like a list, but you can use a marker, or you can make it with pictures, or you can make it in any way for you that with images that makes it meaningful or fun for you. Not every client is interested in doing this. Some clients just like to have a list. But if the client wants to, I'll invite them to make a list like that and then to put it up in their house, right? To put the list on the wall, by the door, somewhere where they're going to see it and they can look at it when they're worried or obsessing, to remind them, right, that worrying and obsessing, even though the situation it's not a good situation, but worrying and obsessing is a waste of our energy. It's not good for us. And we need that energy. We need it today, and we're going to need it tomorrow. And this is, so you really want to think about this. This is a form of mental discipline. It's a form of mental discipline, of keeping our mind focused. It's okay to prepare, right? It's okay. Okay, if there's going to, like Masu mentioned, okay, if there's going to be a power cut, we prepare. Okay. But when I've prepared, when I've done what I can do, if my mind is still worrying about the power cut, that's when I need to do this practice. Because I've done what I can do now. Now I am prepared. Now I have to exercise a mental discipline. So, and that's really valuable, right? You can call this, if you like, I don't like this phrase, but some people would call this a practice of letting go. Some people would, but because I'm a behavioral psychologist, I don't believe that we let go mentally. I don't think that we let go mentally. I don't think that's how the mind works. The mind, unless someone has someone has spent thousands of hours meditating. Someone who has spent thousands of hours meditating has the kind of neurological brain development to do that. I don't have it. And I don't think many of us have it, right? Because we're regular human beings. So the way we let go is by deciding, now I'm changing the channel. I've done what I can do, or there's nothing I can do. Now I'm changing the channel. And that will help us as we develop that mental discipline. That will help us to manage worry and obsessing. This is a very positive form of mental discipline. And there's so many different things. Some people, you might like to listen to chanting, or you might like to do yoga, all these wonderful things, wonderful, wonderful things that we can do to change the channel and put our mind somewhere productive or somewhere non-stressful. It doesn't have to be productive. Good. All right, so let's take a break. Let's take a break for 15 minutes. Let's take a break for 15 minutes. So yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back in 15 minutes. So please enjoy the break. Thank you. Okay. Welcome back. I hope everybody did something nice for yourself.
Coffee.
Me too, actually. I had leftover coffee from this morning that I couldn't finish, was sitting in the fridge. So I took it out.
All right.
It's a good time of the afternoon for a sip of coffee. Okay, great. Sule said I ate something. Yeah, perfect. All right. Now Marlo made a comment. We didn't have a chance to talk about before the break, but Marlo, thank you. Marlo wrote, any kind of music or song doesn't help me in that time. Even my favorite song turns into a bad memory, like it's been associated with negative, worrying emotions. Okay. So then that's okay, right? So then when we want healthy distraction, then if we feel this way, and I think a lot of people feel this way, I've heard this from other people, right? Then music or songs, Marlo, maybe shouldn't be on your list for you personally, right? And that's okay. We don't have to compare our list to anybody else's. Does that make sense, Marlo?
Yes, that's why I don't listen to any kind of music or song. But watching comedy movies or something like that, watching my favorite sitcom series, that helps, but not the music.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So for ourselves, the key is to just really not compare my list to other people's list, but to really give myself permission that these are the things that help me change the channel, and to find as many things as possible, even the ones I didn't discover yet. Right? And if it's music, if music doesn't work for me, then I let it go and I just focus on other things. Wonderful. Thanks, Marlo.
Thank you. But is it like normal that I take it any kind of music that I hear at the moment, and then when I listen to the music again, I feel like that remind me of the time that I worry about something too much.
Absolutely.
Like a negative memory.
Yeah, music is strongly linked to memory. Music is strongly linked to memory and to emotion. So music can be very, very triggering. So, and everybody's different. Because for some people, music is very triggering. For some people, it can be positive. For some people, it can be motivating. For some people, it can be it helps supports concentration, and for some people it can trigger a lot of pain and negative emotion. So that's kind of part of life.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is, and we also, it's interesting because I think it's interesting to pay attention because there's other sounds for all of us, like that we might wish to experiment, like with the sounds of nature, like just listening. And on YouTube, it's amazing. On Listen, they have these videos on YouTube where you can just, it's like a forest with bird song, right? And this can be, I have 3 things that I play in the background when I'm working that helps me to focus. One is a bird song, very quiet bird song, rain sounds, and water sounds. Right? No music. There's just nature sounds that some people record. One of my favorite YouTube channels is called The Silent Watcher. It has all these nature sounds. So it doesn't even have to be music. It doesn't have to be music or songs. Yeah, I think it's very human. Sound and music has a big effect on us. As you know, many people use music for motivation to exercise, right? And so on. So we are very impacted by sounds and music. That's very normal. Okay, thanks, Marlo.
Personally, like, totally agree with that, because like I have a very bad experience about the sounds. So after like that incident, I couldn't even listen any sounds for about 3 years. I don't even want to listen songs, any song, like it doesn't matter. So, but after 3 years, and I tried to heal myself, and then now I can start listening like any songs, or I can enjoy the music back. So I started with like you said, I started with the nature songs, like bug, like, and also like the wind sounds or whatever. It's really helpful, for me too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because we might also use it. We're all different, and so it's important to give ourselves permission to be where we are. We might also like to use that as an opportunity to practice a skill like BNE. Right? If we do something and a painful feeling comes up, then that's a good opportunity to practice with the emotional resilience. But we don't have to do that. We can just distract ourselves. So I want to talk about another skill now that's very important, that will hopefully help us to develop self-acceptance. And this is a skill we call Be Your Own Ally, about developing our ability. And again, it's a very, so we want to, we develop a lot of self-criticism and self-blame, And in part, this self-criticism, which is very common, is a product of this action system. The fight, flight, or freeze system is turning back on the self and attacking the self. And when we look, the research indicates that this is really common. It's very common across cultures. And it's important to notice that most people do not attack or criticize other people in the same way that we might attack or criticize ourselves. Usually we try to be supportive and encouraging and give other people the benefit of the doubt, but very frequently in our own minds, we are not supportive and not encouraging to ourselves. So this appears to be part of this kind of normal negativity bias that we talked about in part 1. That we have this, that our mind, our normal human brain, seems to have some negative habits. But with awareness, with mindfulness, we can work on becoming a kind of friend or ally for ourselves, in addition to being a friend for other people. So this is a powerful form of resilience. So we call this skill be your own ally, learning to support yourself as a friend. So I'm going to describe it, and then I want to guide you to practice it. So the idea is that first of all, you have to have that grounding. You have to have that mindful awareness of this moment. Notice when the self-criticism is happening. Number two, you can stop and breathe. Sorry, this should say BNE, not BBE, my mistake. Right, we do a quick BNE, and then we imagine, how would you speak to a friend at that moment? What would you say if you had a good friend so with this same self-criticism? What would you say to your friend, and how would, not just what would you say, but how would you speak to them? Because sometimes the issue is just the tone we use with ourselves can be so harsh. Okay, so I'd like to practice this together, just to give you a feeling for this. And I already shared the PowerPoint in the chat box. So you have the PowerPoint already. So please put aside your pens for a moment. Let your hands be empty. Sit in your chair. Take a breath. Take a breath to help your mind be present. Feel your body sitting in the chair. You might like to feel that connection with the earth. And now let your eyes, if you like, you can close your eyes. And think of something that you have been maybe criticizing yourself about or blaming yourself about. And don't think of something that is the super intense. If you can think of something that's mild or medium, it's good to start as a beginner. Don't think about something that you hate yourself about, or you feel terribly guilty. But maybe you made a little mistake, or maybe you said something wrong to a friend and you're not certain, and you were criticizing yourself for what you said to your friend. Or maybe you missed a little opportunity somewhere and you were criticizing yourself for missing that opportunity. Just something small or medium that you were recently criticizing or blaming yourself. And please bring that into mind. Bring that self-criticism into mind. If many, many different examples come up in your mind, please choose just one to focus on. And now pause, take a breath, name it, say, okay, self-criticism is coming up. My mind is generating self-criticism. If you like, offer yourself some soothing touch, put a hand over your heart, or give yourself a hug if you like. Just that quick BNE, breathe it, name it, embrace it. This is self-criticism. This is part of being human. This is a properly working human brain. And now imagine that you had a friend who did the same thing that you did, and they were criticizing themselves. If you could say anything you like to your friend, you couldn't change what happened, but what would you say to them? What kind, supportive words would you offer your friend? Or words of encouragement? What would you say to them? If you're not sure, it's okay. You might also ask yourself what you wish someone else would say to you. And if you spoke to your friend, how would you speak to your friend? What kind of tone would you use with your friend? If some words do come up in your mind, now take a moment, try saying those words to yourself. Just imagining saying those words to yourself. Again, responding to yourself the same way you would respond to a good friend. And just notice how it feels. And now take a few more breaths. Now take a few more breaths. And then gently open your eyes. Okay. Okay. So now I want to send you to breakout groups so you can talk about when you practice this practice of be your own ally for the first time, what do you notice? And remember, it's just a beginner, right? You're just a beginner. That's okay. First time. What do you notice when you try to respond to yourself supportively? What happens? What does it feel like? Okay. This is going to be a quick discussion. Just please don't focus on the situation in your life. Don't focus on the detail about the situation. Focus on what did you experience when we did the practice right now, here, in these last few minutes. Did it feel, because there's basically three options. You felt something good you liked, you felt something bad you didn't like, or you felt nothing. There's something in there. It's something in that neighborhood, and any of them is okay. Okay, so I'm just going to put 5 minutes on the clock and send you in the breakout rooms. Okay. Actually, I'll put 6 minutes on the clock and send you in the breakout rooms. Okay, good. Please enjoy your discussion. All right, 𝐿𝐿 I'm going to send you to room 2. Hentet, are you going to go to the breakout room? Okay. Okay. Welcome back. Would anyone like, we don't have to go through for every room. Would anyone like to share your experience? When you practice to be your own ally for the first time, what do you experience? Can share your experience in the chat box, or please unmute.
So I like to share our experience with me and 𝐸𝐤𝐿 in the room too. So we both agree on our feeling. We felt a little bit lighter, and we have noticed and aware of it when we became we became a friend of ourselves, and when we talk to ourselves and we support ourselves. Oh, we feel lighter, and sometimes we didn't notice that there is something still remain in our heart or mind to be cleared out. So we haven't finished our wiping and clearing process yet, but when we do that, we talk to ourselves and we feel, oh, that feels so good, and I feel lighter, and some kind of encouragement. Yeah, that feels so good.
Okay, yeah, I enjoy your smile, Suri, when you're remembering how that feels good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you very much for sharing. Any questions about that practice? So this is, I recommend that before you use this with clients, that you should practice for at least a few weeks for yourself, especially because not everyone has a positive reaction. Not everybody has a did anyone have a difficult reaction to that exercise?
I would like to share about my experience, but not a recent experience, but when the first time I practiced that very similar kinds of practice, I felt like it's nothing to do with me. Like, okay, if like for other people, I really want to support, and I can support really well, and I can just encourage them. I can make them very kind, I can treat them with very kind actions and behavior. But when it's like I have to talk to myself, and then I felt like I really resisted too much, and then that kinds of words are nothing to do with me, and that is I felt like it wasn't for me at all, like. So I felt like it's very harsh for me, and then but I kept practicing this after that, and then maybe a few times, like maybe, and then for kind of like maybe in short periods, and then at one day, and unexpectedly, I felt very sorry suddenly. And then I cried a lot. Oh my God, I cry, like I don't know. I don't know. Like I kept crying for about an hour, I think. And then I started noticing like how much I harsh about myself, and why at the same time I just really kind to other people, but it wasn't kind to myself at all. So that was a very good experience, and then I really encourage everyone to practice, even though we had a not like very positive experience at first time. Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your courage. And I see so many people with the kind eyes and nodding and offering hearts. Thank you so much, 𝐸𝐿𝐴𝐤𝐿, for sharing, and the courage to share that experience, but also the inspiration, because that's right. If I hear you correctly, the sense that when you practice, you have the resource of kindness, right? That you don't need to learn how to be kind. You already know how to be kind, and you offer it to other people all the time. But that the first time you ever try to direct it back to yourself, you feel kind of distant or detached, or almost a lack of empathy for yourself, which is a normal thing. This happens for many people. And I really am so impressed that you continue to practice in some flexible way, maybe short practice, maybe brief practice, and then sometime later we could say like the doorway opened, right? The doorway opened and out come a lot of sad feelings or other feelings that you allowed. And then after that door opened, the energy shifted, that you could start to bring more kindness for yourself too, in addition to other people, right? So that is exactly what can happen. That some people begin, that's a wonderful, so that can, even if we didn't experience that, I think that's so helpful that you help everybody else understand that some people have this kind of experience. And it just takes some time. Yeah. So thank you. That's incredible. Sule?
Yes, Ren. I have one question. Just now I made this exercise and I realized that there is a sharp pain in my body, especially from the left side. And I'm curious that what if the other person, probably the client that we are helping with this exercise, feel the pain after this exercise, what we can do. Maybe we can probably psychoeducate about the body and mind connection, or maybe we can help with some other physical exercise. But what would be the best solution for this kind of situation here?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Sule. When you felt a pain on the left side of your body just now, what did you do? Well, how did you take care of the pain?
To make it better, or?
Well, yeah, well, I don't know. When you felt the pain, what did you do? Did you ignore it? Did you try to take care of it? Are you still feeling it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm still feeling it. Still feeling the pain. I realized the pain. The pain is different. To hear it's feeling like tense, but around my ears it's a sharp pain. So I noticed the pains are not different. These pains are different, and I'm trying to relax my shoulder or stretch it, but it's not going away yet.
Okay. All right. So absolutely. So and also a pain here, or either side, here or farther back, can be a sign of bruxism, of grinding the teeth, which is some way that some people deal with stress, which is grinding. We call it people pressing, like clenching the jaw or pressing the teeth together, is one way that people can express stress. Of course, when we have a lot of stress, we carry a lot of stress in our neck and our shoulders. So it is possible that when we do this exercise or other exercises, that a person may feel tenser, especially someone who feels they don't deserve kindness, or someone who has a lot of self-criticism or self-doubt. They may become tenser. Their neck and shoulder may become tenser. Their jaw may become tenser, or they might feel like them fighting with themselves. So again, the most important thing is that we encourage people to not force. We don't force ourselves, and we encourage other people to not force themselves. It's like if somebody wants to practice, they can practice, but if the practice makes them feel worse, we shouldn't say, they can choose, like 𝐸𝐿 was saying, they could choose, but we should never ever force somebody to practice. And this is very important because people look at us like we're authority, right? So what we say, so we have to encourage them. So, and I think that if a client had that experience, I would probably encourage them right in the moment. We would do some stretching. We would do grounding with stretching, right? And I don't know, it would depend on the client, maybe, like stretching the jaw or stretching out, the neck a bit, and just see, depending on the client's pain and limitations. I would also probably encourage that client to do PMR. Because again, different people carry and manifest stress in different ways, So some people can be very cognitive, a lot of negative thinking or negative predictions. For some people, it can be very emotional, a lot of negative feelings. For some people, it's not a thought or a feeling, it's terrible tension in the body, or a mix. So, and I think that when we carry a lot of tension in our bodies, and that will show up through insomnia, through muscle pain, stomach aches, headaches, migraines, also through GI, through digestive problems, in that situation, PMR is a really good practice for people who notice that a lot. Because PMR doesn't require words, it doesn't require thinking. It's just about really draining out the tension from the body over and over and over again. So how does that sound, Sule?
Yeah, that would be very helpful. I'm going to practice for myself as well. Yeah. Thank you so much, Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, if you need to get up now and move around and stretch a little bit, please feel free to do that.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, thank you for the question. Are there any other questions? So Hentet wrote, I feel empathy for myself after the activity, but during the activity, I notice my self-criticism, which is, I cannot give empathy to myself and do this activity of pretending to be another one, kind of feeling that kind of distance, so stupid. I'm so stupid. Right. Hentet, do you want to say more about that? Or is...
Yeah. During the practice, I feel empathy and after the practice, but after that, like this practice is like I don't know. I noticed the thought during the activity, like that thought that I cannot give empathy to myself and to this activity or pretending to be another one. So that thought comes out and during the activity. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, so it kind of, you were while we were doing the practice,
yeah.
While we were practicing, you felt a bit of a kind of struggle with yourself.
Yeah.
Or a little bit of a tension with yourself. Okay. So let me ask you a question. If you had a friend who did this practice, who did this activity, and who had that experience, that they were struggling during it and they couldn't connect during it, and they were saying, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't do this, everyone else can do it, but I'm the only one who can't do it, or whatever that friend is saying to themselves. But you know your friend's a good person, they're really trying, maybe they're having a rough week. What would you say to your friend? Can you imagine, what would you say to your friend about that?
Yeah. That it's okay that people sometimes don't feel empathy toward themselves and to the others. So it's okay to be like that sometimes. Yeah.
Wow. And so let's try that for a moment. Could you put a hand over your heart? Could you put a hand over your heart and just say to yourself, so what you just said, like, that's okay. Sometimes people, you don't have to say it out loud, but just say it in your own heart. That's okay. Sometimes people, we have bad days. We don't always have empathy for ourselves. We're not perfect. That's okay. What's that like when you do that?
I feel relief and lighter. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well done.
Thank you.
But that's great because it's okay. And this is important for ourselves. This is why, especially with this practice, we should practice for a couple of weeks first, because clients will have different responses and people in groups will have different responses, and they might be different than our own response. So actually, if we're having a response like Moenge or Sule or Hentet, it's very useful to have that response, because then we will have more empathy for other people who have that response, right? We have to, when it doesn't connect. But if we kind of work on it, and the reason I did that practice just now hentet, is because you said that you did feel some empathy afterward. So the time that it took to have the empathy, it wasn't where you felt completely detached, like that's another person, like what 𝐸𝐭𝐥𝐿 was saying earlier, right? But that the energy was there, it just was a little slow in developing. But that's okay. And this can be a total block, it can be a partial block. It depends on a person's history and many, many different factors. Right? We don't ever get, I hope you didn't feel I was pressuring you, because we also don't want to force people. We also don't want to force people, which, as I was saying before. So, but it's such a it can be such a powerful resource. So just to go back, because I want to summarize that and then move onward. Thanks everyone for your sharing. Really fabulous sharing. Okay, and Suri shared, I did exactly talk to myself. Oh, come on. I am not perfect. I can do better next time when self-criticism appeared on my mind during the practice. Wonderful. So again, these are the basic steps that we just practiced. Please notice that we try to start from a grounded place, right? If we just, we need to kind of slow the mind down a little bit first. So we notice the self-criticism, or in this case, I asked you to visualize self-criticism. But then we stop, we breathe, we name it, we give ourselves some kind touch, and then we begin to practice. So I hope everyone has a chance to start to practice this in the coming week. Okay, now, all right, so those are some skills for for mental resilience, the worry tree, healthy distractions, and becoming your own ally. So let's talk a little bit about physical resilience. Physical resilience, and of course, Sule has already kind of helped us to raise this topic, but you know, we can't really practice this in the webinar. It's difficult to, although when you're with a training group, you can do some of this. You know, and I was so happy that many of you have been mentioning yoga, because it's really important. As there is sometimes as therapists, we rely on words too much, but this will not be effective for every client. And this is very important, that a lot of our tension and our stress lives in our body and our muscles. And so it's Marlo, are you trying to ask a question?
Sorry, no
Okay.
question.
Okay, thank you. So that just moving the body can actually bring out our resilience. This is why, so what's very important is that we are as active as is possible for each one of us. The sitting is not good for us. I don't know about you, but especially when I'm working, I sit. How many hours do you sit each day for each one of you? Can you share in the chat, please? Because when I see clients, I sit for 7 or 8 hours, sometimes 9 hours a day. And I have only learned in the last 4 or 5 years that actually is really, wow. Okay, so when I says more than 9 hours, how about other people? 9 hours. 8 or 9 hours. Sitting, wow. Okay. It's very good. I know that some of you mentioned yoga, 10 hours. So especially for anyone who's sitting more than 5 or 6 hours a day, or even we know that this is really not good for us, and that it can increase our stress even without being in this situation. We know that for office workers in America or Europe, to sit for 9 hours a day is really bad for our bodies and our stress. and now when people in Myanmar are enduring so much, we know that physical movement releases the energy of stress and emotion from the body. This can be something as simple as walking or climbing stairs, doing yoga or qigong, or any form of exercise. I want to encourage all of you, especially, if you are sitting in 8 or 9 hours a day, that you should start to do some movement break. Every hour, spend 5 or 10 minutes. As you can see in my, I guess you can't see my whole background of my office, but I have a 10-minute break every hour. It's not always 10 minutes. I have a 5 to 10 minute break every hour, and I stop and do stretching and movement. I do some squats, I do some stretching, I do a plank, I do different things just for 1 or 2 minutes every hour, because this is my time between clients. And so it's really important to do this. And I don't think I included, and there's even a kind of yoga that you can do in your chair. So for those of you who are in a chair all day, you might like to go on YouTube and look up chair yoga for office workers. Because if you're spending so much time in the chair in front of the computer, the risk of office syndrome is high. And for those of you who are interested in the yoga or qigong, please see playlist 4 in the materials that I shared with you. And maybe I included some chair yoga on that playlist. But the movement's very, very good for us. And this is also good, especially gentle movement practices like yoga and qigong are very good for our trauma clients. When we have to do trauma therapy, we want to make sure that we are teaching PMR, and we want to make sure that we are encouraging the client. I'm not a yoga teacher. I'm not a yoga teacher. I'm not a qigong teacher, but we want to encourage our client to try and learn those things and practice those things in very simple ways. Many people treat yoga like it is a athletic competition. That's not what we want the client to do. We just want the client to learn how to be in their body, which is really valuable for trauma. So, and then of course there's sleep. I talked about sleep last time, but again, all of the playlists that I have shared with you will help with sleep. Everything that I'm sharing with you will help with sleep. It's one of the, if we are not sleeping well, we should make our sleep a focus and figure out how we can sleep. We can use BNE or PMR to help us fall asleep. And if we wake up in the middle of the night or we wake up early, I suggest to do PMR, to do long PMR. Because when we have clients and the client is only sleeping 2 hours a night, 3 hours a night, 4 hours a night, if you can help the client to increase this, to go from 2 hours to 4 hours, or to go from 4 hours to 5 hours, you will immediately see an improvement in the client's condition. Sleep, you might not know this, but there was a study that was published in the last 5 years. I'm sure 𝐿𝐸, you know about the study, but basically it shows that if someone comes for depression or anxiety and we only focus on their sleep, people who have difficulty sleeping, we only focus on their sleep, and we don't focus on their thinking or their other things. We just focus on helping them improve their sleep without other interventions. The improvement is equal to as if we do the whole therapy. Right? So when clients are sleeping poorly, it is because when we sleep, it brings out our best. When we sleep well, when we have good sleep and we recharge, our natural strength and our natural capacity comes out by itself. So when we see in ourselves persistent insomnia, it's important for our resilience to take good care of that. And that's also something we can work with clients and using the tools I've already given you, just to focus, even if we can't solve all of our problems. Remember, one of the frames we want to take with clients with insomnia is, because many clients will focus on the problem. Many clients will be like, well, we didn't solve the problem yet, so I can't sleep. That's not how we do with insomnia, right? And I don't have the time to explain the whole treatment for insomnia, but it's in the playlists I shared with you, right? All the details about how we talk to the client and we explain to them, we need to sleep to recharge. We're going through a difficult situation. There's so much, again, uncertainty, uncontrollability, unpredictability, but we can learn how to have a better sleep starting today. Even just 15 minutes more, even just 30 minutes more, we can have, with a little bit of mental discipline and a little bit of physical practice, we can start having better sleep today. And when we have better sleep, we will have better coping, even if the situation is not resolved yet. And that's, you know, once people understand this and we help them shift the mental focus, because so many times people are in this kind of narrow state. Once we help them have a different kind of understanding, they will be glad to do this and to practice PMR. Because again, then we have more energy. And I feel that when people sleep better, they have more energy, they are more hopeful, right? And they are more ready to go on. And we all know this, we all have this experience. When we sleep badly for 2 or 3 nights, we feel tired, but we also kind of start to feel bad about the future or lose confidence, you know, whereas when we're sleeping well, the energy from that is very important for us. Because it brings out our natural strength and capacity. So sleep, and these are the behavioral methods for working on sleep. Are there any questions about sleep or physical movement? So I want to encourage, it's great. I want to encourage you to bring that to your clients as well, because for many clients, this physical doorway is the most important. Okay, share screen.
Just for the sharing, sometimes I just work with the client exploring more about their thought patterns and thought journals before sleep, and it's helped some time as well for some clients, and then reading as well. So some clients it's really helpful before bed, like 8 p.m. start reading it, and then it's helpful for the sleeping. Another one is like dream journals, which is sometimes people had bad dreams and then they're afraid to sleep. So I also discuss in the session about the dreams. So that's helpful for some clients. That's
Wonderful.
I just
Great. Thank you, 𝐿𝐸𝐿. Thank you. And there's, on some of the playlists that I've shared with you, there are some longer videos about the CBT for insomnia. There's 2 videos. One is about 45 minutes and one is about 1 hour and 15 minutes from psychologists. And they include, 𝐿𝐸𝐿 is kind of summarizing some of the key components of that treatment approach. And for those of you who have a little bit of time, at some other point, you might like to watch those videos. Where they go into all the details about how to approach that therapy. But thanks, 𝐿𝐸𝐿, because those are some key elements. Just reading, not scrolling on your phone in bed, not using your phone in bed, just reading a book, right? Or or doing journaling before bed, or doing dream journaling if you have bad dreams before you go back to bed. Wonderful. Thank you, 𝐿𝐸𝐿. Okay. Okay. And then, of course, social resilience, which is of course, the power of connection. And we all are familiar with this. You all have already mentioned about connecting with friends. You know, one of the things we want to remember, this is also important for doom scrolling, right? Is that emotions are contagious, especially in a situation like this. Our emotions affect other people and their emotions affect us. This is normal. It's part of being human. We have to remember that our mind and body, especially as therapists, as caregivers, our mind and body is being affected by the emotions of people around us. and this is very important, our conversations, our emails, the videos that we watch, what we consume, the social media, what comes in our social media, it's affecting us. Not because we're weak, not because we're bad, right? It's because of being human, right? We have this kind of open connection to other people. You know, and it's sometimes, so we have to be careful, especially when other people are sending around a lot of fear, when other people are sending around a lot of stress. We have to be careful about absorbing that energy. Because what can happen in a crisis, when the whole community is having a crisis, it can create a phenomenon that in the West we sometimes call mass hysteria, which means that there's like waves of emotion moving through the whole community, like a wave of panic sweeping across the whole community, or a wave of anxiety. And just like a wave in a swimming pool, if you imagine a wave in a swimming pool, the wave moves across the pool and then it hits one side and then it moves back across the pool. And the wave just keeps going back and forth and back and forth. And anyone in the pool is affected by this wave. So it's really important to have good, positive social connection. And if it's possible for us to reduce the impact, especially as caregivers, to reduce the impact of some of the negative emotion in the community. Because remember, the important question to ask yourself is this using my energy well? Or am I, especially if I'm tired today, or if I don't have energy today or this week, is this using my energy poorly? And not blaming anyone. It's not about blaming you. It's not about blaming other people, but it's about conserving and protecting your energy so that you can take care of yourself and so that you can continue taking care of other people. Because when that's the challenge for the caregivers, that we are not only taking care of ourselves and not only taking care of our own family, but we're also trying to take care of other people. So our profession has an unusual demand that other people do not experience. So it's important to set some limits on the things, like if we have some social media, someone in our feed, and they are constantly sending things that are upsetting, we need to ask ourselves, what can I do about that? So one of the elements of social resilience we call my team. And I want to get to the spiritual resilience. So I would like to do this exercise, but we're not going to do the exercise. But we ask, people to make a list. Who are all the people on your team? So that can be, and there's so many. Who can you get emotional support from? Who can you get financial support from? Who can you get, like if you need to use a car, if you need to use somebody, who could you get that kind of support from? Or who do you want to spend time with just to have fun? Right? So there's many different kinds of support. So we invite people to make a list. Who are all the people on your team? All right, so I'm sorry we're running out of time again, but I want to talk about spiritual resilience, and I want to introduce a practice of spiritual resilience. So, and that's just, let me just ask you, because this is a big topic. This is a big topic. What does the word spiritual mean to you? I want you to think about that for a moment. What does the word spiritual mean to you? Because we don't mean religious. And of course, I want to be really clear about that. We do not mean religious. There's nothing wrong with religion. Okay. Moinga says the meaning of life. Okay. That's a little bit intimidating. The meaning of life. I don't know the meaning of life. I can tell you that. I know how to increase spiritual resilience. But yes, that is one element, right? Yeah. And I think if we say the meaning of life, it's going to freak our clients out. The clients will be intimidated. But I agree with you, 𝐿𝐴𝐬𝐿𝐴. It's about meaning. It's about creating meaning. And of course, it's also, I think that spirituality is about realizing a sense of interconnection. A sense of interconnection beyond our thanks, 𝐿𝐴𝐬𝐿𝐴, right? Yeah. Yeah, do I feel that there's meaning in the way I'm living? And to feel that I'm living in a meaningful way is very satisfying, right? So because for spirituality, I mean a sense of kind of connection, that I don't feel like an isolated, separate, lonely individual, but I feel somehow a sense of connection with meaning, a sense of connection with my life, a sense of connection with other people, with a community, a sense of connection with nature, right? Spirituality can take many different forms, that there is connectedness with life, with other people, with the universe. But again, this can mean many different things for different people. Again, for some people, it's not about going somewhere to pray. For some people, it's spirituality is about taking a walk in the forest. And this creates in them a deep sense of connection. So, but for someone else, it might mean I go to the temple and I pray. Everyone is different. So this is having, research, I think all of us know, and research is clear, that having spiritual beliefs and practices is for people who cultivate them, and they don't always come naturally. And we don't always like the ones that our family practiced. But it's that when we have them, they are an important source of resilience, whatever they are. I might like to do the same thing that my mother and father taught me as a child. I might like to discover something very different. So sometimes we can receive them, sometimes we have to discover them. But it can be a powerful source. I want to share my screen again. So, yeah, okay. So I want to share a practice. This is meant to be, okay. I want to share a visualization that is called Protective Circle of Ancestors. So this is meant to be something to help us feel safe and connected. Especially if we have trouble feeling safe. Okay, thanks, 𝐿𝐴𝐬𝐿𝐴. So let's try this. We're going to do this as a visualization. And remember, you'll have this. This will also be on the recording as well, because you don't have to remember this. So please, so remember, if the visualization does not connect for you, or if it feels too difficult, just smile. That's okay. Right? But this is meant to be something that's meant to be emotionally grounding and connected, knowing that it doesn't connect for everybody. So take a moment to close your eyes. Take a moment to close your eyes. Take a few breaths and feel yourself sitting here in this chair. Just feel your body sitting here. Feel that connection. Now, in whatever way feels right for you, I want you to imagine anyone who feels like a helpful ancestor to you. So this might mean people who have been your blood ancestors. That might mean people like a grandparent, someone you felt was kind and helpful. This This might also mean other relatives that you've heard about, but you never met personally. This might also mean, if it feels right, your own parents. If you think of anyone and it causes you pain, you can let that go. Only things that you feel comfortable about. This might also mean what we could call spiritual ancestors. Like, for example, if there was a teacher who you felt was very helpful to you, or a member of your community who provided you guidance, or maybe someone you read a book by that person, and that book that was so helpful to you. You didn't have to meet them in person, but you feel like you received something from them. Or maybe a teacher at the university. So we have this idea of our blood ancestors and our spiritual ancestors. Without trying too hard, just allow yourself to imagine 2 or 3 or 4 of these people. And if there's more who come up in your mind, that's okay. If nothing is coming up in your mind, please give yourself permission. Don't force yourself. Say, okay, today it's not connecting. That's okay. If you can imagine a few people, then put a hand over your heart and imagine these ancestors are standing in a circle around you. Again, these may be blood ancestors, these may be spiritual ancestors. They're just standing in a circle around you. They don't expect anything from you. They are here to support you. They are saying to you, in this moment, inside this circle, you are safe. In this moment, in this circle, please rest. Please release your cares and worries and just feel at home. So just allowing yourself to receive the energy of this protection. And letting yourself feel whatever it feels like to receive the protection of your ancestors. Really allowing yourself to just soak in this energy. And then gradually, gently releasing this, but taking a moment to remember that these ancestors are a part of you. They are with you all the time. And they are available to make a circle around you at any moment so that you can rest and feel safe. And then gently releasing that practice. If you like, taking a moment to stretch a little bit. If you'd like to journal, taking a moment to journal, whatever feels right for you. 𝐿𝐸𝐿, I see your message. I thank you. I understand if you need to go. It's okay.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, I have time, so I can at least.
Yeah, I know how it is. Would anyone like to share? What was that like? This is protective circle. Okay, protective circle of ancestors. What was that experience like? Would anyone like to share? Momo says, feeling very safe and energetic to be surrounded with protective ancestors. Great. Thanks, Momo. That sounds lovely.
Can I share? And then I will go. So I feel like at the end is like I got sense of control. Because at the end was ending with me. The ancestors are me, within me, in my body, in my spirit, in my soul. This is very powerful technique, and it is at this time because we easy to lose control, and then this exercise, give me a lot of light. Let's go. Thank you.
Thank you, 𝐿𝐸𝐿. Yeah, Masu wrote very secure and happy. Hentet feeling safe and warm. But I felt sleepy. Yeah, right. Again, when we feel safe, we can rest and then recharged, right? This is the wonderful. Yeah, good. I'm glad that connected. Did anyone have difficulty with it? Did anyone find that this is a very powerful practice, so it can also sometimes bring up difficult feelings? Okay, so I said I started to feel sleepy as my late grandma appeared in my mind. Felt soothing, even the weather here is so hot. It's so hot in here. Yeah, wonderful, great, Suri. Yeah, so that's wonderful. I'm glad people had a kind of positive sense of that. This is very powerful. I understand that people need to go. Before we go, can we please do one more thing before we